I must say, I'm quite pleased that today I managed to get up at the time I would normally expect to get up. I've had about 2 weeks of exhaustion, mostly because of travel, I think. And today I was up at 5:30, happily reading through the newspapers, and I feel enlivened. There's a little Hebrew expression. What is it now? Ani me'od semech. I'm happy, and I'm happy because my schedule is back to what it should be. And I thought it would be interesting to talk about time, to talk about handwriting, and Kairos, the three words that suggest a rebellion against the tyranny of the clock and the keyboard. I've long believed that the act of writing by hand is not simply a form of note-taking, but a kind of ritual, a dialogue. These are my notes, and it's a dialogue between the hand and the mind that no machine can quite replicate. Neuroscientists, in fact, I think back this up. The motor pathways linking the fingers to the brain's memory centres, particularly the hippocampus, are more active when we form letters by hand. It's not nostalgia to say that the rhythm of the pen helps the rhythm of thought. Typing, by contrast, is too uniform, too mechanical. It allows words to form without friction, and writing longhand forces one to think, to pause, to shape meaning, rather than merely to record it. Emma Thompson, who writes her own scripts longhand, may appear quaint in a digital age, but there's something profoundly human in her practice. It resists the homogeny of the glowing screen, even if she then commits what she's written longhand to Word, and she complains that Word keeps telling her, wouldn't you prefer this? Wouldn't you prefer that? Let's change this. A handwritten line carries a trace of hesitation, emotion, and intention, the evidence of a mind mid-struggle. The computer, cold and obedient, leaves no such trace. When I write in the early hours, between 5:30 and 7, and I stick bits of paper behind my computer screen, it resists the. I'm not governed by Kronos, by chronological time, the relentless time of clocks and schedules. I inhabit Kairos, I think, the Greek notion of the opportune moment. In Greek thought, there are two words for time, Kairos and Kronos. And Kairos is the time of encounter and decision. It's the decisive time. It's the time of presence, not measurement. The ink flows, the thought becomes flesh, and for a brief while, mind and moment are one. Students, of course, resist, and I find it terribly tiring. They type, they tab, they cut and paste. They get into inordinate trouble with ChatGPT, or what was it, Boris? ChatGPT. And then they complain that they cannot remember what they wrote. Well, I sympathise with that. They cannot remember what they wrote because they don't know what they wrote in the first place. I cannot remember what I wrote because it's out there. It's already done its job. I cannot recall what I myself said or scribbled hours earlier because I've recited it into the camera and put it out onto YouTube. And that now belongs to Kairos. It belongs to you. It is no longer mine. The point is not permanence, I suppose, but performance. The moment of thought exists only in its time, only in its instance. Afterwards, it's released into the world. It's no longer mine. It's part of YouTube. It's part of that growing plant. Perhaps it's in oblivion. Once spoken or written, it ceases to belong to me. It becomes, as all true writing, as all true thought should, the property of others, the property of the witnesses, the property of the people addressed. Flawed, transient, and alive rather than curated. So yes, there's a link, I think, between the brain and the hand, between the pulse in the ring finger and the heart that drives it. There's a link there. Between the act of writing and the act of being present. To write by hand is to resist automation. I never know really whether I used to be left-handed as a child, and I was bullied into being right-handed by my Latin teacher, who was this fiend of a leprechaun, not terribly high, but terribly vicious. And when I first went to that school, I'd never held an ink pen in my life, and I was suddenly forced to hold an ink pen filled with dark blue permanent ink, and it got everywhere because you're writing in a strange position, and I had ink down my legs, I had ink in my hair, and he was the person who controlled lunch and eating, and he wouldn't let me go into the refectory to eat because I was too dirty. He made me stand in the washroom and clean, and I just couldn't get the ink out. And eventually the kitchen staff took pity on me and gave me scraps. But I think it must have been, in my mind, it must have been about a week. It probably wasn't so long. That I was crying into a sink of bubbly water, and I tried writing with my right hand, and I found I could do that. So I think I'm what is it? I think my brain works like a left-hander, and my hand works like a right-hander. So maybe that's a positive. I'm not really sure, but it's all down to this fiendish Latin master. So yes, I think there's this link between the brain and the hand, or the hands, the hands that are driven by the brain, the act of writing and the act of being present. And to write by hand is to resist automation. I think it's to live by Kairos, to resist the dictatorship of recall. The pen, the page, and the fleeting moment, these are the old technologies of the soul. You can think of the little monk in the scriptorium writing one page of text in a week or in a month, and embellishing it with gold leaf and paint that he's ground the pigments himself, and little scribbles and doodles because he's got bored during the day. I find something rather charming in the handcrafted product, and in fact the other day I managed to get my sewing machine out, and this background is the product, but and it's not yet finished. I would do a little bit more to it. It's not in fact a duvet, I hasten to add. But it's I worry that people get too obsessed with the computer, and they think the computer knows, and the computer tells you, guides you in a particular direction. It leads you in a particular direction, and there may be a certain logic in the process, but in that process also, I think we lose our soul. We are selling our soul to technology. And wherever possible, I think one should try and reclaim that little bit of personality. And as I say, it's not because I'm not self-indulgent. It's because I simply don't have time. I don't look back on the videos that I've done, so I go through the comments and I sort of relive these videos through you, through what you say, and I think, oh, did I actually say that? I have no memory. It's gone, it's past, I've gone on to something else. But and I think it's the only way. It's the only way to get lots of things done. So I do videos in the morning. I do some videos in the evening, and the rest of the day I do some teaching and I do lots of animation. And I sort of function on that basis, and I feel that I've got a very full life. I also feel that when I'm forced to travel or my life is changed in some way, I've got to do something that is unexpected. It takes days to recover. There we are. Anyway, but I got up at the right time today. I'm very pleased with myself.